Hey there, pharmacy owners. Dr. Lisa Faast here. I own two pharmacies along with Diversify RX, and I want to talk to you about KPIs and data. Now, don't skip this. I know KPIs aren't exactly the sexiest thing to talk about in pharmacy. However, they are probably one of the most critical aspects in order to run your pharmacy well and have a profitable pharmacy that you actually love owning. And so when you're looking at KPIs and you're calculating data and you're printing off reports from your PMS, it can feel a little overwhelming. And how do you know if the data is good, right? Like good data in equals good data out, bad data in equals bad data out. So I was talking with one of my inner circle members who was looking at KPIs and diving into some of the year-end KPIs that we're working on with them. And a really great question came up. I talk a lot about benchmarks, and there's some KPIs that have benchmarks, and I'll explain benchmarks. Benchmarks is like the industry wide, this is the measurement, this is the score that you want to get. An example of that would be like inventory turns. 20 years ago, the benchmark was 12, and that benchmark has changed over the years as the industry has changed. And so now I tell pharmacy owners that you should try to be hitting around an inventory turns of around 24. Most definitely above 20. 24 is kind of like what I consider, good and the gold standard. And of course, you can always go higher. So benchmarks are like what you compare yourself to. It's like, how do you know a stick is straight? Well, you have another stick that's straight that you know is straight, and then you compare it, right? That's what a benchmark is. And so benchmarks are wonderful because they immediately tell you, are you, good? Are you in the green? Are you iffy in the yellow, or are you just like far off and you're in the red and it's on fire? But what happens if your data isn't as clean as you would like, and so you don't really know where you land in the benchmark because your data is bad? This comes up a lot with pharmacies, probably more than you might think. You're the only one, but trust me, across like everybody, like data in pharmacy is tough. We've got all those retroactive fees. We've got, audit losses. We've got 340B claims that you have no idea 340B. Like there's just double billing. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff that makes our data dirty. So what do? Do you just throw your hands up and not track KPIs? Fortunately, that's what a lot of pharmacy owners do. They just give up and say, well, I don't have clean data, so I'm not going to track this. And that is absolutely the wrong answer. If you do that, you are just setting yourself up for failure. And that is not what I want for any pharmacy owner. So what can you do then? Use the dirty data, right? Like I always talk about KPIs, like your data should be easy. If it takes you, this really comes up with employee bonus plans, but if it takes you 3 hours to figure out a data point, how consistent do you think you're going to be with that? If it takes you 3 hours to figure out an employee bonus program every month, how consistent are you going to be with that? And so data has to be easy. So if the data in your PMS is dirty for one reason or another, most common it's dirty for 340B pharmacies, right? Like as 340B claims, even if you know it's a 340B claim up ahead, your computer is pulling in the normal cost of goods. It's taking the insurance reimbursement. It's not calculating the 340B reimbursement. It's not calculating that it's a free drug, like all these different things. And so your data is just dirty. But what do you do with it? Well, number one, you don't just ignore it and put your head in the sand and not calculate. Use the dirty data. Instead of comparing yourself against a benchmark, compare yourself against yourself, right? If you have dirty data and the data is dirty month after month in the same ways, then at least the most important thing with KPIs is really tracking for a trend. Yes, there's certain KPIs we want to hit. Maybe you want to make $200,000 in net income. Maybe you want to make $800,000 in net income. So there's certain benchmarks and numbers that we really want, but really in terms of managing and making better decisions for your pharmacy, it's the trend of the data that's important. Is this getting better? Are you working your ass off and it's not having any effect? Or are you working your ass off and it's actually getting better? Even if it's not maybe where you want it to be, it's moving there a little bit every month. So even with dirty data, you can still calculate your KPIs. You can still track if you're improving it. And that's what's most important is the energy and time that either you or you're having your staff input to a particular project, to a particular metric, to a particular outcome, isn't having a positive effect. And you can figure that out even with dirty data. So if you're not sure, cost of goods is another big one that's messed up. So, you have a primary wholesaler, so their price file downloads into your system, but you buy 70% of your stuff from a secondary. Like, good practice is you update those prices whenever you get those, but we all know that that's hard to manage on a day-to-day basis, and things don't always happen how you like them to be. So your cost of goods files just may be completely wrong. So maybe your profitability is wrong. Like you can't understand the rest of your metrics. Now, I would recommend fixing that because it's always good to know what your actual profit is. But in the meantime, if you can't, and at least you're consistent in buying, if you buy your primary and then you buy from these 3 wholesalers all the time, and it's the same month to month, your data is bad data, but it's at least consistently bad. It's bad in the same ways. And so if you're doing things to kind of move the needle, calculate your KPI, even if it isn't accurate, and then calculate the trends, and at least compare yourself to yourself. And that is at least how you can keep moving forward. The biggest problem that I see with pharmacy owners, the number one thing, yes, cash flow sucks, and that's what causes like pharmacies to go under. But before that, before the cash flow got so tight, the pharmacy owner just got stuck. They didn't know where to go. And let me tell you, the worst thing that you can do is inaction. Action beats everything. Action trumps everything, even if it isn't the most perfect action. And let me tell you, you will never have perfect action, okay? It is like, rainbows and daisies and glitter from the sky when you have a perfect action in front of you. I've only rarely come across that in all of my businesses. It's a very rare instance. What happens instead is imperfect action, okay? You might want to go 90 degrees up, but your imperfect action is like 75 degrees up. And then the next one is, this way. The next one's this way. And so there's no such thing as perfect action, but action trumps being stagnant and feeling stuck. And so before pharmacy owners dig themselves a big old hole that they just can't get out of, that's usually what happens is you're stuck. And so use your KPIs, whether the data is good or bad, and at least start tracking your trends. Start comparing your own bad data to your own bad data. Did I do better this month than last month, even if I know the data isn't 100% accurate? And that is one of the easiest things to go. So if you've ever downloaded any of our KPI dashboards or our CEO dashboards or anything like that, put the data in there. Start paying attention to it. The fact that you're even paying attention to it has amazing consequences that will start to improve it. Nothing can be observed without changing what you're observing, right? Like there's some, rule on that came from nature, but it happens in business too. The moment you start paying attention to something, you unconsciously do different things that then affect that outcome. So start tracking your trends. Yes, clean data is always preferable. And if there's a way to do that, let's go do that and make it clean, because we always want to know what our real numbers are, especially when it comes to profit. But in the meantime, if you don't have that, don't get stuck, don't give up, don't throw your hands up. Concentrate on just tracking your own data against yourself, even if it's bad. Make sure you're moving in the right direction and you're seeing the improvements that you need. So I'm personally really excited for 2025. Obviously, 2024, 2023 were just hunker down years. Like, protect yourself at all costs, surround yourself with life preservers. And it was really a defensive posture. I'm super excited for 2025 because I feel like it's an offensive year. And like, my happy place is offense. Like, I believe all the world's problems can be solved with revenue. So like, being on the offense is going to be just a huge change. And for some of you, I know that flipping that switch is going to be hard. For crazy people like me, it's a really easy flip. And I can't wait to like just go on the offensive and, kind of leave the past behind and move forward. And so tracking your KPIs, tracking your numbers, although not sexy, it is literally the foundation that will make your pharmacy thrive and profitable. And honestly bring calm to a chaotic life as a pharmacy owner. So I hope you found this helpful. Feel free to share this with any pharmacy owner friends or managers or employees that you have. If you have any questions, you can always pop them in the comments. I'll get those and I'll respond as I see them. And hope you enjoyed and share. So have a great rest of your day and a great New Year's as I record this before New Year's. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.